Welcome to Legacy Conversations, a channel where we preserve military memories and history.
Hello everyone, it's Koos here. Man, I'm excited because we had a fantastic time in South Africa. And one of the places we visited was the SAAF at Port Elizabeth. We've got a museum there. It's right next to the airport. If you guys can ever visit it, please go there. If you can support it financially or in other ways, please do so, because these people really have a magnificent collection there. But like all these things, they cost money, you know. You've got to clean these aircraft. You've got to make sure no one steals from it and so forth and so forth. And we made several videos there, I think 6 of them. They're all good. Please have a look at them if you haven't looked at them yet. Please do so because there is a story behind it. In fact, it's the second recordings. We made the first recordings and the sound just didn't come out. There were no sound on it. I blame my gaffer, or what do you call him, something like that, the guy who carries around the tripods and things like that. My friend Peter Metcalf, Peter fell on his head as a paratrooper, so we can't blame him that much. But anyway, so the very next day we had to go back and we were on our way to Garitam, which is quite a few hundred kilos away from Port Elizabeth. And so, man, I really saw the Air Force coming to a party there because I had to call and I had to say, guys, I'm so sorry. The sound didn't come out. Can we redo it? And they're like, yeah, of course we can do it. I even opened the place an hour and earlier than normal, 2 hours earlier than normal. I was absolutely there. So I want to thank the friends of the SAAF Museum in Port Elizabeth, as well as the staff and everybody else who assisted us. And this episode is very, very good because I've got a Mirage F1 AZ pilot there, or the mod movers, as they call themselves, Trevor Bernberg. So these are not the air superiority people, they are the ones who come in low and very quick and very fast, and they would then drop bombs or fire their rockets or whatever they have, their cannon, whatever. And we were even discussing how you would drop a nuclear bomb using the TOS bomb system, which in Afrikaans is known as vergooi. But I don't really know the Afrikaans terms, so I was quite glad that the man was speaking English. So we're standing next to the Mirage F1 CZ, and that's the air superiority model. But we're mostly talking about the AZ, which that's what I don't want people to be confused here. And I'm really glad we did, because about a month later in Pretoria at Swartkops, we spoke to a 2 squadron commander, Colonel Koos, who was actually involved in the shooting down of one of the MiGs up north. And of course, he's your total air superiority guy. That's what he does, flying with CZ. And we were standing there and he was telling us about this very CZ model, which was involved that day with a dogfight. And I believe he was the wingman, but I'm not going to tell you the story there. The reason why I'm explaining it in so much detail is we don't want people to say that Trevor Bernberg is saying that he was a CZ pilot, when in fact he's an AZ pilot, and he makes it very, very clear in the video. But before we start, let's just look at the sponsor. You know, to produce these videos sadly cost money, and we have to pay the bills. So there's something I want to bring to your attention, and that is George M. James. That's an author, and he wrote many, many books, dozens of books, and all of them has to do with South African military, has to do with espionage, counterterrorism, that type of thing. And each of those books are written with a specific purpose, and there are 53 of them. And George M. James had been a sponsor of this channel like in forever, since the very first video came out. So whatever George M. James books you buy, come back to Legacy. and they are available on audio, they're available on Kindle, they're available in paper, hardcover and softcover. All of them are available on Amazon. Some of the books are available in South Africa as well, in softcover, and I'll leave the details here. I urge you to have a look at it, go to the website, have a look at the website, and I'm sure you're going to discover marvelous things there. I can be very blunt to you. If you like legacy, if you want to support legacy, want to support us in what we do, then please go and look at the George and James books. Get hold of them. You're going to learn things which you didn't know. And a lot of the things we've discussed on legacy has also come out in those books. And what is fascinating, those books were written before legacy came. So they were deeper knowledge than what I think most of us would realize. So again, guys, George M. James, go and look at it. Hello, Internet. We are back. We are still here at the Port Elizabeth SAAF Museum. Fantastic place, guys. Really, if you're close by, put it on your GPS, Google Maps, whatever you have. Come and visit this place. It's for free. You have free access. You can have very nice mementos you can buy here. See me little cap, you know. That's very good. There's t-shirts, there's all sorts of things, very high quality material. But as I say to you in all the other videos, I've donated 500 rands at the end of this video, and I have evidence of that. I've got witnesses. Real money too, not monopoly, not baht, not dollars, rand. All jokes aside, guys, please, these type of places do need assistance. They do need you to contribute in any way you can, even if it's just to come and help to clean, or whatever you want to do here. Match my 500 rands, and let's see if we can assist these people. And now we're standing here next to what I think is a Mirage F1. There were two of them, two models, but I've got a SAAF man here who will be able to explain what all this aircraft is about. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming here once again to us. May I ask you to introduce yourself, because I'm not always sure that people have seen the other videos. If you haven't seen the other videos, there's 6 of them. Please go and have a look.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. My name is Trevor Bernberg. Started my Air Force career in 1977 and started off on Harvard's at Donotta. Then went on to fly the Impala at Langebaanweg, part of the training program. Got our wings and then got stationed to Port Elizabeth flying the Impala Mark 1. From there, progressed on to Mirages, the Mirage Delta 3, and then onto the F1 AZ. I'm standing next to the Mirage F1 CZ, but more about that later. One squadron had the AZ. From that, went on to Donotta, became an instructor on Harvard's, and then from there moved on to flying the Mark 2 and Mark 1 at Petersburg as a pilot attack instructor, teaching youngsters to do weapons. So the Mirage F1 CZ, the one we're standing next to, the one in the PE Museum, this is an air-to-air interceptor fighter, and the one that I flew, the F1 AZ, is the air-to-ground attack aircraft. The difference would obviously be in the nose. This nose of this CZ is quite substantially longer to house a very powerful radar that it had for air-to-air interception, the search radar, whereas the AZ, the ground attack, had a shorter nose. Its radar was mainly used for ranging, as well as limited air-to-air ranging as well. So it wasn't a search radar. What made the AZ so much a ground attack aircraft was the laser range finder, which is positioned just under the nose, and it also had an in-flight refueling capability. So the CZ, the one we're standing next to, does not have the in-flight refueling capability, and obviously its range was then dependent on the internal fuel as well as the tanks it carried. The AZ was able to do in-flight refueling, obviously extend its range quite a bit. The weapons that the AZ carried, we had 2 30mm cannons, as well as Mark 82 bombs, 250 kilogram bombs that it could carry, as well as air-to-air missiles. The maximum load that we flew with was a configuration of 8 250 kilogram bombs, as well as obviously the two cannons, 30mm cannons, as well as the two air-to-air missiles. The profiles that we flew were, well, we trained quite a bit at Hoedspruit to perfect the profiles that we flew. And as I said, the more you train, the better you get at it. So there was a lot of training, and with the training comes a lot of briefing, debriefing, and yeah, it was hard work, but certainly rewarded. We were rewarded with some good flying in the time that we were at one squadron. The aircraft itself, if I remember correctly, something like 15,500 pounds with afterburner. It's not a lot in compared to today's Raptor and the advanced aircraft that are flying today. But in its time, the Mirage was a formidable fighter, a formidable weapon, and a formidable ground attack aircraft. The AZ had a bombing computer as well as a navigation. Well, from the bombing computer, it was able to also, through the head-up display, display height, speed, headings, and obviously your navigational inputs, that where the turning points were, etc., etc. And then obviously when you get closer to the attack position or closer to the target, the head-up display then switched over into the bomb line. And once the bomb button was pushed, obviously the bombs were released, but all automatically from the bombing computer. So for us as a gobby trying to get used to sophistication, this is quite a machine as far as sophistication is concerned. Obviously it's all old school now, but when we were at the squadron, it certainly was, in our opinion, state of the art, and a really fun machine to fly as well. It was likened, well, I often likened it to a light aircraft, a little Cessna 172. That's how easy this aircraft was to fly, but on a hell of a lot of steroids. A really fun machine to fly. Besides the bombing computer and all the sophistication that the AZ had, all the years we flew, we had our handheld map, but the AZ also had a moving map display position between the legs. So at any stage, you could look down and have an accurate view as to where you were, what was up ahead via the moving map display. So yeah, it certainly was a formidable machine to fly and a real lady, a wonderful aeroplane.
But I notice it stands quite high. Isn't that a huge difference between the Impala, which is quite low, to bring it in?
The aircraft, obviously, because of its speed as well, came in faster than the Impala. But this aircraft also had leading edge flaps and slats. So that also brought the aircraft in at a lower speed, but at a higher angle of attack. The aircraft was quite easy to land as well, in that the head-up display, you positioned into the approach mode, and we came in, if I remember correctly, at 10 degrees incidence. So hardly ever did one actually look at the speed at which we were approaching. Depending on the weight, depended on the speed that you approached at. But the AZ, we flew in at a 10-degree angle of incidence, and that gave it whatever speed that was related to. It gave that approach speed. So what one did was put the approach indicator onto the landing threshold, fly down your 10 degrees, and land the aircraft when it crosses the threshold. Very, very easy to fly. And then obviously what this aircraft does have, and the Impala didn't, was a drag chute. Because you're coming in at such a high speed, pop the drag chute, and it's a very, very effective method of stopping the aircraft on the runway.
Is that done manually or automatically?
No, a small little handle. I think it was on the left-hand side. You pull the handle, and that then popped the drag chute. And
what happens if it sustains damage and it comes out during flight?
No. As soon as the drag chute gets too much air through it, it breaks off.
Okay, so it's designed
it's designed to break off. If it comes off accidentally off in flight. It's designed to, I don't know how it would work, but it's not, you won't come back with it, that's for sure. Yeah. You lose it in flight.
And the visibility from that one regarding the Impala?
Very good. Also very, very good visibility, yeah. The aircraft we flew mostly at 200 foot and cruising at 8 miles a minute. So that's what, 1600 odd, I'm not going to do the mathematics now, but 8 miles a minute, 480 knots. And then that was our cruising altitude at low level. And then obviously this aircraft was also capable of flying high altitude, maximum of 50,000 feet. Becomes lonely there.
And you break the sound barrier.
The Mirage is easy to go through the sound barrier. This aircraft could go to a maximum Mach 2.2. That's 2.2 times the speed of sound. That's at high level. And at sea level, Mach 1.2. And the limitation wasn't on the speed itself, but more on temperature. So it's got a fairly large red light. And as soon as you started exceeding temperature limitations, this red light would glow. I'm not too sure, I can't remember if there was a bell as well, or a warning horn, but it would illuminate to say that you are now exceeding the temperature limitation of the aircraft at your Mach 2.2. Personally, I haven't gone that fast that I saw the red light, but I do know it is there.
But it is a single-seat fighter aircraft, so there's no instructor behind you to help you. So, so how do you convert?
Okay, so from the Mark II, or the Impala Mark I and Mark II, we got to Petersburg, and there we converted onto the Mirage 3, the Delta. And that was our introduction into high speed. And that first flight off the Mirage 3, it was incredible. The acceleration, the speed, and everything happened so quickly. It took some time to get used to the initial, but thereafter it was a pleasure to fly at those speeds. And then from there, the Mirage 3, we went on to the F1s. The CZ was stationed in Waterkloof, and the AZ was stationed at Hoedspruit, but we had a simulator. But it wasn't a moving simulator, it was a procedural simulator. So we could check out our procedures and our actions, standard operating procedures in the simulator before we took the aircraft out for the first time. First time on this machine, it was unbelievable. It was such an amazing experience. A lot of power that you're not used to, a lot of excess power. And then, of course, all the sophistication of a head-up display that's telling you where the navigational turning points are, plus a moving map display. It's all new toys. And yeah, certainly had a lot of fun playing with these new toys on the first couple of flights.
Is a fighter pilot born or made, or both?
That's a difficult question to answer. I've always wanted to fly fast jets. You know, with all due respect to the other aircraft, it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I've always wanted to fly the fast jets, and the Mirage was the fastest that the Air Force had. And I could have also gone on to the CZ, but my preference was for weapons and dedicated ground attack. And that's why I decided to try and get onto the F1 AZ, which is a dedicated ground attack aircraft. And as the guys called us, the mud movers. And the Billy Boys wore that with pride.
But there's no difference in the actual wings of a SAAF. You cannot look at the man and know what he's flying.
No.
They look the same.
Well, the wings are exactly the same. It was a standard. Obviously, it's gone through changes as the years have gone on. But in your intake, each and every person on that intake had the same set of wings for that era.
Okay. I want to ask about nuclear bombs. I know that South Africa, it's an open secret now. For those of you who doesn't know it, South Africa was actually for a long time a nuclear armed country. It built its own nuclear weapons. And then it disposes of it. It's the only country in the world who actually disposed of its nuclear weapons, I think just before 1994 when Mr. Mandela took over. Now, I've heard the Americans have a system where they come in low with their Skyhawks quite fast, and then they would go up extremely quick, and they toss this thing. I think they call it toss bombing. You had such things in the SAAF?
We trained on the toss bombing concept. I was at the squadron when this concept came to light. We called it a vergooi, which is really far throw. But it was really in its initial stages that we trialed this method of attack. Approached the target at low level. At a particular point, we practiced this at Petersburg. We accelerated, pitched up, I think it was C to 4G, and then as a radio altimeter crossed 2,500 feet, we released the bomb. And this then, you tossed the bomb, you rolled back and the way you came and egressed out that way. So it was initially not very accurate, but as practice and perfection came about, yeah, we could the guys, as far as I know, could throw that Verkooi fairly accurately. So it kept the aircraft and its crew away from imminent danger. The closer you get to the target, obviously the more dangerous it certainly will become. So the further you can get away from the target and still be able to throw the weapon, the safer it was for the crew and the aircraft.
How was the air defense which you were facing in Angola?
It was substantial. They had very good radar, search radar. And yeah, fortunately, the aircraft had its own defense mechanism. In fact, these small little eyes over here, those were radar warning. So we could see what was searching, what radar was scanning us. We also taught the differences in the lock-on and obviously the launch of any missiles that came our way. The system also had its ability of telling you what type of missile was being launched, dependent on the frequency of the pulse or frequency of the radar going through you.
I've heard the pilots in Vietnam era, which is now just a little bit before what we're talking here, they said if they could see that missile, they could avoid it. They would outfly it. Still possible in those days or not?
We were trained to fly against the missile. The SAM2 and SAM3, they are, as I understand, as long as telephone poles. So we were taught to try and maneuver against the missile, try and get it out of phase with the aircraft. In other words, you're dogfighting a missile. It sounds easy, but I think it must have been incredibly difficult if a missile locked onto you to try and fight that missile as well. Fortunately, we never encountered anything like that, but I think it would have been extremely difficult to fly.
But you would know that. You would know that missile locks on you.
Yes.
It gives you a warning. There's some people, something going off.
Through these, the radar warning system.
And that gets the adrenaline going.
Whenever you climb to this airplane, the adrenaline's going.
I've also read in Vietnam once that they pilots are a different species. I was married to one before she passed. Aviator, sorry, not pilot. Pilot is Air Force, they cannot navigate. No words, not done. She says if she can't find the aircraft carrier, she ejects. But I understand also in Vietnam they had a big snake like a lace long. And they took this thing with them to Hanoi. And then sadly for them, for the pilot, this thing got excited with the act going off and he started biting him between the legs.
Oh my word.
Yeah, it was something like that. So he dumped the oxygen. That's what I read. I don't know if it's true actually. And the snake passed out because he couldn't get air. Were the SAAF ever flying with some strange animals, combat duties or?
I don't know about the other airplanes. I can't speak for them. That there was no space in a fighter to place anything else except what you required to take along with you. And I don't think if there was a choice, I wouldn't even think of taking any animal with me or anything extra. No, it's too dangerous. Also, there's just no space. There's no space in the aircraft.
Let us hope it's just a story. We did say the snake for the animal lovers of yours did survive, but he was a bit slow. Apparently, he wasn't as quick in the brain department after that experience. Anyway, one of those legends, and this is a legendary aircraft. They flew in many, many different air forces. Fantastic thing. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate. And guys, remember when you're here in Port Elizabeth, you can stand here. You can come and look at this thing. You can even walk up the stairs this side, and you can look into the cockpit and see all the meters and things. Totally analog. There's no real glass screens as far as I could see, but that came later. So thank you so much. Appreciate.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Koos.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications.